is how our Lord orchestrated salvation. He purposed it from the beginning and executed it, made it come to pass when He willed it to come to pass. From the beginning, God purposed salvation for mankind. It was not a result of random choice, as if God just thought it off the top of His head while considering what to do with mankind, as if His experiment, so to speak, failed and then He had to think of a way to redeem it. What can I do about this? This is not a good portrayal of salvation, as if God is just merely cleaning up a mess He made. This is not something the Scriptures support. Here's something God said concerning Christ and salvation, speaking of it being foreordained, and it was purposed from the foundation of the world. 1 Peter 1:18 and 20 says, "For as much as you know, you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by the tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifested in these last times for you." Revelation 3:18 says, "And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship Him, whose names are not written in the book of life, of the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world." Acts 2:22 and 23 says, "Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by Him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know, Him being delivered by the determinate counsel and foreknowledge of God, ye have taken, and by wicked hands have crucified and slain." Now I mean to show you here, this is something God purposed from the start. Maybe some of you have heard the question, how come it took God so long to come up with salvation? This isn't a good question. God already had this purposed and set to happen at a particular time. And throughout history, He orchestrated every event, every civilization that led up to this point. You could see through it God's in complete control, and He's working out His will in the earth. And no one's going to change that purpose that He has. Now, in Jesus' time in the earth, you will see this exact same type of mindset. He speaks of the hour or the time that's going to come. He's constantly referencing salvation to the purpose of God that He's going to bring to pass at the time He desires to bring it. So this is what I want to bring to your remembrance today. We'll see God in control, fully orchestrating what He means to do through Christ. Now, Christ speaks of the hour. All the Gospels record Jesus speaking of the hour no man knows, like the day of judgment, but this particular time I'm speaking to you is the time that He should die for the sins of the world. Jesus knew that there was a set time for this to take place. I mean to bring this out with several examples from the Gospel. Now, there are specific times when the enemies of Jesus desired to lay hands on Him and kill Him. There are specific times they wanted to do this, several occasions, and they were hindered from doing so prior to that time. Now, an account in Matthew records one of these events taking place and states that they couldn't because they were afraid of the people, because they saw Him as a prophet. This is the reaction of the scribes and Pharisees to Jesus' parables. Matthew 21:45-46 says, "And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard His parables, they perceived that He spake of them. And then they sought to lay hands on Him. They feared when they sought to lay hands on Him, they feared the multitude because they took Him for a prophet." Now you can see that maybe some might look at that as coincidence or Jesus just being lucky, but that's not exactly the case. As you can see, Jesus was in the right place at the right time to where they couldn't do it. I want to read to you some other occasions similar to this where it kind of leaves you with a peculiar impression, like there's more to it than just coincidence. You know, there's something more there. There's more to it than what we may see. Now in John 8, here's another occasion where the Jews sought to kill Him. It says in John 8:58 and 59, it says, "And Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am." And it says, "And they took up stones to cast at Him, but Jesus hid Himself, and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed them by." You see, that kind of leaves the impression there may be more to it than just He just walked away and just got away. Now here's another one. This one is from Luke's account. This is chapter 4, verse 28 through 31. "And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust Him out of the city, and led Him unto the brow of the hill, that is the edge of the hill, whereon their city was built, that they might cast Him headlong," just throw Him off the edge. "And He, passing through the midst of them, went His way." That's the next statement. They were about to push him off. He just walks through the midst of them, goes on his way. And here, look at the next statement. And came down to Capernaum, a city in Galilee, and taught them on the Sabbath days. He was given deliverance. And you see here an example of them being held back in various circumstances. They're sick. They see him push him off the edge of a cliff, so to speak. They want to stone him. But each circumstance, they couldn't. They were held back by various circumstances. Let me draw your attention to the Gospel of John. He presents a much higher view as to why none can lay hands on him. Once again, this is on an occasion where they sought to kill him. John 7:28-30 says, Then cried Jesus in the temple as he taught, saying, Ye both know me, and ye know whence I am. I am not come of myself, but he that sent me is true, whom ye know not. But I know him, for I am from him. And he hath sent me. When they sought to take him, they sought to take him. But no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come. Yeah. I believe this exact same truth can be applied to all the ones I just read to you. Yeah. It wasn't just coincidence. It wasn't just happenstance, or that Jesus was just happened to be in the right place, but rather God was protecting him. God, and it was true. His hour was, even at those times, was not yet come. Therefore, they had no power to take him. Their hands were tied, so to speak. Yeah. They wanted to. Oh, they would have done everything they could, but they couldn't. So you can see there's a much higher view of this, that they were being held back by God himself until this time came. This shows that the will of man cannot usurp the will of God. When God wills for a certain thing to come to pass, it does not matter what men wants to do. God's will is what's going to be done. Now let's look at another account. This involves Jesus being betrayed. Here's what Jesus said about Judas betraying him. He wasn't ignorant of this. He knew this was something that was to come to pass. Matthew's account, 26:21-23 says, And as they did it, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. But woe unto the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not even been born. Later in that chapter, 45-46 says, Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, Sleep now and take rest. Behold, the hour is at hand. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. Lastly, John 13:26-28 says, Jesus answered, He it is to whom I shall give a sop, when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. And then said Jesus unto him, That thou doest, do quickly. Now no man at the table knew for what intent he spake unto them. So you see, from their perspective, they didn't really see at the time what was taking place here, but Jesus did. Jesus is fulfilling the purpose of God. It is clear that Jesus was not speaking like of a bad feeling he had. I think one of you is going to betray me. No. In fact, he was speaking of something that was supposed to happen, something God purposed to happen. Thus it says, the hour is at hand. This time is come. Jesus not only knew he was going to be betrayed, he knew who was going to betray him, and he knew when he was betraying him too.
That's right.
Even in the betrayal, we can see how God is orchestrating all of this. Now, when Jesus was praying to God, this is what he said when he turned to the disciples the third time. When he cometh the third time, he said unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. It is enough, the hour is come. Behold, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Rise up, let us go. Lo, he that betrayeth me is at hand. So he knows. Jesus made known to them that this was the moment that he should be delivered into the hands of enemies. The language in which he speaks confirms that this was something that he knew was going to happen, something that's supposed to happen. Yet, let me make another observation concerning this. Now, as you see, when they tried to take Jesus, Peter tried to stop him. He drew his sword. Now, this is what Jesus said, he told him to stop attempting to stop this. He said, John 18:10-11 says, Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and then smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put thy sword into the sheath. The cup from which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? So here you see an attempt, someone's trying to stop it from happening. Yeah. But he's put it back. No, this is supposed to happen. This is what he said to his captors. Mark 14:48-49. Jesus answered and said unto them, Are ye come out as against a thief with swords and with staves to take me? I was daily with you in the temple teaching, and you took